Hi and welcome to the Fearless Marketing Show. My name is Nicole Davidson, and in this episode we are going to be talking about the SEO mistakes that are keeping your website invisible on Google. So many business owners come to me when we are working in our digital agency. They have a beautiful website, but it is not converting at all. They have poured time and money into their website, but when they Google their services, they are just not coming up anywhere. And I'm sure that sounds pretty familiar for most people. So many businesses have these beautiful websites, but nobody can find them. It is not about working harder. It is about knowing what you need to do on your website that is going to keep Google happy. And now it is not only Google that we're trying to keep happy, it is also all of the AI search engines, ChatGPT, Claude, and all of the above, because people's search habits have been changing. And what I really want to do today is talk about all these mistakes. Now, the good news is they are all fixable. And the best news is that for the majority of the content that you need to be working on, it's going to work both within Google, Bing, and also the AI search engines as well. So what you're going to learn today, I'm going to walk you through the 7 most common SEO mistakes that I see all of the time with both my clients and other people's websites, and it means that it is keeping their website invisible on Google. And like I have said, we can stop fixing these today. Even if you're not tech savvy, we're going to walk through everything today. Now, before we dive into this episode, I did want to talk a little bit about my beginner SEO course, which is called the Fearless SEO Formula. And this course is a bite-sized course. It has around 30 lessons of beginner SEO tips that you can do. And it is really going to walk you through from the start of starting your SEO, creating a strategy, and then putting that in place. So talking about your keywords, what you need to be doing on your on-page SEO. It is perfect for service-based businesses. It has over 30 lessons in here where I am going to walk you through step-by-step how to do the SEO yourself. My aim with all of my content is to keep it very affordable. So at the moment, we do have a special offer with the Fearless SEO course. It is $99 at this point in time. It will be going up, but just for initially, we are really keeping this low because I want to be able to help as many people as I can. And I know that it is going to really help you, particularly if you're struggling with your website being found in Google. If you're looking to join the course, you can jump over to thefearlesscollective.co or you can Google the Fearless SEO formula and that will be the top result that comes up. And I really hope to see you on the inside. Mistake number 1, missing or generic page titles. These are also known as your page title tags, which is the specific term for these. Now, this is something that I see on nearly every single website that when you are not being found in Google. Your page title is one of the most single important items that you can have with your on-page SEO elements that you have. Google display this in their search results. So you will probably have if you've ever done a Google search before, which I'm sure 99% of you have, you will see the title tag in that top section within the results. So when they come up in terms of results, and this is the organic listings and also the ads, but what will happen is you'll have that blue title and then underneath you'll have the description. Now the title tag is what shows up that initial very first line of the result. Most websites are using generic titles like home, about, services, or potentially just their business name. Now, your business name is going to be better than using the words like home, about, services. But what you would like to do within that title tag is to be very specific. Now, you only have a small amount of characters to be able to do this, so you do want to make sure that you are being quite specific. Yoast SEO recommends, I think, up between 60 and 70 characters, and Google is around the same. So that is because you want to be ensure that you can see everything that you have written in that title tag when the Google searches happen. So for example, when I go into a client's website or a new client, or if we're potentially doing an SEO audit for a potential new client, most of the time I will jump in and these have not even been touched. And I'm talking even if they've used an SEO company, sometimes they don't even look at these. So for example, when I am advertising Picasso Media, which is my digital marketing agency, when we are talking about, say for example, our homepage, the title tag that we will use for that on our homepage is going to be pretty, overarching as to what we do. It is not going to be sort of about any particular service that we do, because it's generally our homepage. For example, we would generally have on their digital marketing agency, and we might have a location. So my location is the Central Coast. However, for me, I do work with customers across Australia. So it could be that we say digital marketing agency Australia, or because for the majority of the time we are generally working with our clients on their websites, our general title tag for that would be website design, or small business website design company Australia. So that is something that it's much better than us just saying Picasso Media. If someone's going to know who we are, my website's big enough to already rank for Picasso Media, so I don't need to worry about that. The same with the Fearless Collective. We don't generally need to be worrying too much about ranking for that word. Most people are searching out services that they're looking for. I mean, unless you're like a really big company, most people are coming from the actual keywords they're searching from, not your business name. And then if we dive into, say, more of our landing pages, for example, our search engine optimization services, when we're talking about our local SEO service, that is one landing page that we have set up, and it would be it's in there saying, local SEO agency, Central Coast, or local SEO agency for tradies. Whatever it is, it's going to be a lot more specific, and it's a lot more focused on what keywords we do. You really want to make your title tag specific and descriptive. And another example for the Fearless Collective could be business coach for female entrepreneurs. We want to, again, keep it under that 60 characters so that it doesn't get cut off in the search results. It is very easy to do this. Every single platform, whether you're on WordPress, Wix, anything, will have the place that you can go in and you can edit every single page where you can update these. So what I want you to do when you get off listening to this, I want you to jump into your website and I want you to find 5 pages. Pick your homepage and then your top 4 pages that you think would perform well in Google, or that you want to perform well in Google. And I want you to fix that title tag. Does it describe what you do, who you help? If it's not, then fix that. It is your number 1 priority. Mistake number 2 is ignoring your meta descriptions. Now, this is very similar to what we have just talked about, which is your title tag. So when you're looking in your Google search results, the meta description is that little 2-sentence, it sort of like has 2 lines of a couple of sentences underneath your headline of your search result. Meta descriptions are that snippet of text that appears under your page title in Google search results. So like we were just talking about, we were saying the title is in the blue, and then you have that 2 lines of text sitting underneath that snippet is your meta description tag. When you leave it blank, Google generally will create its own, and generally it's not going to be great. And normally what Google will do is pick up the very first couple of words on your page. So it'll pick up, the first sort of 160 characters on your page and pop that in as your meta description tag. And so it's normally not great, because you really want to be using this. This is like when people and you would know as yourself when you're in Google and you search for these results, that is, you're looking for someone that might be able to help you. And these meta description and title tags are here to really help pitch your business in the search results. It is your sales pitch, essentially. Why would they want to click into your result? You want to tell them why. Think of your meta description as a mini advertisement, and it is going to convince someone to click on your result instead of the 9 other people that are on that page. How to fix it? Again, it is super simple to fix. What I want you to do, Google generally will give you up to 150 to 160 characters of a description that you can write for every single page. You will probably be able to do this again in WordPress, whether you're using Yoast SEO or All-in-One SEO or any of the others, Rank Math. You will be able to jump on in and edit both the title and the meta description in the one spot. This is the same when you go into, say, Wix or Squarespace. You are able to edit all of these things. I want you to write a really compelling 150 to 160 character description for every single one of your important pages. If you don't have time, just set 5 minutes aside every single week and just do 5 pages. You don't have to go too crazy, but you do want to try and include your main keyword, but you also want to do this in a natural way. These 2 lines are really meant to be worded for the natural eye. So someone's coming in and they're reading this, you want to word it in a natural way, but you do want to talk about your service. Whether, for example, if you're a plumber or if you're, an accountant or a bookkeeper, you want to have that in there, and you also want to include your location. And ideally, if you can add a benefit or a hook that is going to make people click through to your website. For example, for our website, for the Fearless Collective, I could say, learn how to build a profitable coaching business without the overwhelm. Step-by-step strategies for female entrepreneurs ready to grow. Now, in here, we are already talking about learning how to do something. We are talking to a specific customer. So that is the coaching business or the coaching entrepreneur. And then I'm also talking to female entrepreneurs. The Fearless Collective, primarily, I do target female entrepreneurs. So that is something that we would then include in all of the majority of our title tags. I would like to try and have that in there, so I'm really targeting those people. Now, I do know that it can feel very tedious doing this, but I promise you that spending 5 minutes on each of your pages meta description can be the difference between 100 visitors a month and 1,000 visitors a month. That is huge. Like, you really do want to try and focus on these 2 things. If I can get you to do any of these things, it would be the first, number 1 and number 2 out of the mistakes that we are talking about today. Mistake number 3, no alt text on images. Now, there are so many people who do not do this. Google cannot see your images. It will read the alt text instead. It is not only really good for Google, but it is also really good for accessibility. The majority of people will upload an image without adding any description, and you are missing out on image search. So when you do a search, and the majority, the initial one will have the initial index, and then up the top you can click into images, and then you'll see all of the images related to that particular search. If you would like to benefit from that area, then you will want to make sure you're doing this, and you are definitely missing out on image search traffic and hurting your accessibility if you don't do these things. And again, they are pretty simple to do. Now, with a client of mine, they were a service-based business in the trade industry. When we very first started working on their website, on their local SEO, they had a really nice looking website, but the majority of their alt text, actually nearly every single one of their images, had no alt text at all. Now, it took us a long time. It was a pretty big website, so going through all of the images that were there was at least 50 pages in this website, and so it took a long time to go through every single image to do this. But once we actually did that, the results honestly spoke for themselves. They started increasing traffic even just from that, and particularly because we were uploading a lot of the jobs that they were doing. So for example, so we were adding descriptive text to every single job or portfolio image that we were uploading, and that alone started generating a fair bit of traffic for that customer. So how do you fix it? You need to go through all of your images, or at a bare minimum, as you start adding images going forward, you want to add a descriptive alt text to every image on your website. I want you to include relevant keywords, and I want you to do it naturally. Describe what is in the image. So if you're a bookkeeper and you upload a photo of yourself, you could include your name, your business, and say bookkeeper as the service. Instead of using, say, image1234.jpg, you could use something like, female entrepreneur working on a laptop, or, female entrepreneur business coaching. Whatever it is you want, that's so much more effective than it just being that's general, image 1, 2, 3. Now, as I have said, the bonus for this is it makes your website accessible to people using reader screens, and it shows Google that your content is relevant. So the next time you upload an image, pause for that 10 seconds and just add that alt text in. Most website platforms, when you upload an image, are going to have a little section saying alt text, and it will become a habit if you do this all the time. Mistake number 4, is a very slow website speed. If your website takes more than 3 seconds to leave, people are going to leave. I hate saying that, but it is true. Google knows this and they rank the faster websites higher. Now, the common reasons for a slow website can be really large image files, too many plugins, or cheap hosting. Honestly, think about the last time you tried to visit a website on your phone and it just kept loading and loading and loading. Did you stick around? Probably not, and neither do your potential clients. It is fairly straightforward to fix for the reasons that I just mentioned. You can test your speed using the Google Page Speed Insights. It is a free tool. You can pop your URL into this and it is going to tell you how fast or slow your website is running and what it's loading, and also sometimes it's going to give you a little bit of information around what is causing it to be slow. Now, what I suggest to you before you start doing these, run your website through Google Page Speed Insights and get a baseline as to how fast or slow your website is. Once you've done that, make sure you keep a copy so that you can see whether the changes you're making are going to be making your website faster or slower. Now, the very first thing that I would highly suggest you do is to go through any of your images and compress them before you upload them into your website. In particular, if you're using any websites like Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, you want to make sure that you're uploading the file sizes in the correct file size. That means they are sized to the right size of where you're using them. So for example, a large hero image is going to be larger than maybe a small image of you on your about page. You want to make sure they're all sized correctly. Once you go to upload them, please try and use a WebP file or a JPEG if you need to. PNG files are always going to be large files, and then you can use something like Tiny PNG, or there's a few other website providers that I'll link in the show notes that you can use to reduce the size of your images prior to uploading. The second thing I want you to do is to run through and have a look at any plugins that you are or not, if you're using them or if you're not. Obviously this relates to WordPress websites. The other thing I want you to have a look at is consider upgrading your hosting. If you are on the cheapest plan, I understand when running a business that you want to keep the cost down, but if you are going with a cheap host, you are going to pay for that in terms of your traffic. Now, the Google Page Speed will give you a bit of an overview as to what's happening. A lot of the time it will be images. Sometimes it will be code. If it is code, you may want to go back to your developer and just say, look, can you have a look through this? Generally speaking, it doesn't take them a lot of time to go through and do a bit of a speed test and see what's happening and whether they can get that size down. But if you can ideally make sure you go through and have a look at the websites, any images that are 2 megabytes or 3 megabytes or even 1 megabyte, that is going to be a big problem right there. If you have, say, 3 or 4 of those, and they're 2 megabytes each, you're already going to be at an 8 megabyte website page straight away, and that's without any other code at all. So that's going to be a problem. You want to compress them down. They want to be, if they're larger images, I would say around the 300 kilobytes. If they're smaller, 200 kilobytes or less. That is really, really important. And again, if you're not sure, you can reach out to a developer. You can also reach out to Picasa Media. We do work on this. If that's something that you do require help with, reach out to Picasa Media and we can definitely have a look at your website and let you know what's happening right there. Mistake number 5 is not having a clear keyword strategy. Now, the issue here is writing content on random topics that may sound interesting, but potentially are not going to be things that your ideal clients are actually searching for, or you're targeting keywords that are potentially way too competitive. Now, I see this all the time. Someone will start a blog or start a business and they'll start writing, really generic content, and that is real. It's good to start, but you do want to really have a lot more information around what you're trying to achieve and what keywords you are really trying to target. Now, questions that you want to think and ask yourself, or you can get some help around with ChatGPT or Claude. You want to have a think about the questions that your ideal clients are asking. You could even jump into Google and you might type in around services that you have, and down the bottom, if you scroll towards the bottom, Google will actually suggest different keywords in there automatically that people are searching for around that topic. You can use like free tools like Google Autocomplete, Answer the Public, or just Google's People Also Ask. There's heaps of things that you can look at and try and work out what people are asking for. You can even jump into Facebook groups and like have a look at different questions that people are asking, so that it may be questions that are going to be coming up in the search engines. The other thing that I would recommend is to target longer phrases, so specific longer phrases or keywords, rather than just like really short keywords. For example, business coaching, it's going to be highly competitive, and there's honestly you're not really going to have much of a chance, particularly if you have a brand new website. However, if you go more specific, and you might say try and write an article or a page, and you might try and focus on how to get coaching clients without social media, that is going to get you a lot more views than it is if you're just talking about business coaching. Every piece of content that you create should be targeting a specific search term. It doesn't mean that you're trying to stuff keywords everywhere. It just means being very strategic about the keywords and the topics that you choose. So for me, with the Fearless Impact Method, I have kind of like 5 pillars that really go into how you can create your own business. Now, under the 5 pillars in here are mindset, visibility, nurture, converting, and scale. Now, as part of that, underneath those 5 pillars are different topics that I talk about. For example, visibility is your SEO. So this is a podcast that is really going to focus on visibility for your business. Another topic that I would talk about underneath visibility would be social media. Mindset is really going to be about, different ideas around potentially, do you procrastinate? Growth mindset. These are the topics that I would then talk about that are going to bring in my ideal client. And that's what I would like you to do. You could essentially create, 4 top level topics that you're going to talk about, and then have things underneath that. For example, with Picasso Media, then my top ones would be website design, search engine optimization, social media, and potentially branding. Like they would be kind of like the topics that I'm really going to be talking about to bring clients in. And then underneath website design, for example, I could be talking about WordPress. I could be talking about how to structure your website. I could be talking about what things you need to have on your website, how to create a really good about page. These are all the different content ideas that you need to be creating and your keywords come into this. So having that strategy, the top level strategy there, then means you can kind of like dive into what your keyword strategy should be. Now remember to use the longer phrase keywords. They work so much better. And the other thing around the long tail keywords is that generally when people are searching for those, they're further along the buying process than someone that is just going to be typing in business coaching. They could potentially want to be a business coach. They could potentially want to, find a business coach. They could be looking for anything around business coaching, like maybe some training. You can see that it's not very specific. Whereas if you do go down that road of how to get coaching clients without social media, they're much further ahead in that buying process. So it's very important to think about that too when you're creating a keyword strategy. Mistake number 6 is to forget all about your local SEO. If you serve a specific location, you are missing out on huge opportunities. And this can be in particular for service-based businesses, accountants, virtual assistants, all of that. Not claiming or optimizing your Google business profile, or not using, location-based keywords on your website. This is going to affect you even if you work online, even if you tend to attract, clients from specific areas. Even for us, even though I work Australia-wide, I do focus heavily on local SEO because I do like to have local clients coming into the business as well as clients outside and, around Australia. So if you're a person, and particularly if you're a service provider and you are meeting clients in person, this is highly important that you do on your website. The very first few things that I would focus on to look at your local SEO. Number one, make sure you claim your Google business profile. It is free and it is a really great way to attract local customers into your business. And number two, adding location to the key pages on your website. I cannot tell you the amount of websites I have been on before. For example, they might be like, again, an accountant or a bookkeeper, and they do not have on there where they service. And a lot of people are looking for someone local. A lot of people, when it comes to service providers, they want to work with someone that is local, that they can maybe ring up or they can maybe meet for a coffee. And that is really important to have on there. You don't need to, if going and having coffee is not something that you want to do, that's fine. You just let them know when they're contacting you. But you're really cutting out a large part of the market if you don't have your location in there. Now, for another example, Sydney business coach for female entrepreneurs could be a keyword that would be a really good one for us. Or it could be, bookkeeper, wagga wagga, whatever it is. You need to have a think about what keywords you want to have and what local locations you're looking after. When you're doing your Google business profile, you want to make sure that you go through and add to every single part that you can possibly add on there. Google will kind of give you a guide on, for example, the description in your Google business profile. You have 750 characters to be able to fill in. Most people, I cannot tell you how many people jump in and will write 1 or 2 sentences. It is not enough. Make sure you use nearly all of that 750 characters. Get in there around what you do, who you service, where you go. All of those things need to be in there. I have had clients before where just adding their suburb into their homepage title tag, within a couple of weeks, they will start getting inquiries. It is obviously depending on how much, competition that you do have will depend on how fast that works, but just getting your location in there is going to really help. And the final mistake that I see is number 7 is no internal linking strategy. Now, this one is probably a little bit more complicated than some of the others, but it is still not hard to do. It just does take a little bit of time. Now, every page on your website exists in isolation. So your homepage is one page, your about page is one page. What you would like to do when it comes to internal linking is you want to link related pages from one page to the other. So for example, when I'm on the homepage, and this happens a lot, you obviously are going to do a lot of internal linking, or ideally you would like to do internal linking from your homepage to any of the other pages that are relevant. You want to make sure you're linking them where it is relevant. So for example, if you go to the Picasso Media website page or the Fearless Collective, you will see that I link from when I'm talking about certain topics or services that we have, I will link into that specific page. So where I'm talking about a small business website package that we might have, we will link into the small business website packages page. It is pretty simple. That's all you really want to do. But why does it matter? Internal linking is going to help Google understand your website structure and which pages are most important. Plus, they are going to help keep people on your site for longer because they're clicking from one resource to another. You can do this both on pages and you can do this when it comes to blogs. You will see a lot of the large blog companies that they will link when they're talking in one article. They will link to heaps of different other articles around that similar topic. So ideally, what I would like you to do is you can jump on in. WordPress actually does allow you, if you click onto the All Pages section, it will actually show you how many, at the very end of the column, it'll show how many pages are actually linking into each individual page, which is very, very helpful. So the ones that have, 3 or under, try and get a few more links into those, but really heavily try and make sure you're linking from blog posts to your services. So when you are in a blog post and you're writing about a particular service, link to that page. If you're on your about page and you say contact us, link to your contact page. connect any related blog posts together, and you also want to then try and use a descriptive anchor text. If you're not sure how to do that, you're pretty simple and straightforward to Google, but you basically, when you are writing a descriptive anchor text, when you're linking, it'll have like an anchor text, and you can kind of like, instead of just writing click here, you could say, learn more about SEO for small business, or find our website packages here. So it's just basically making it, instead of, just having that click here or like download now, you're really kind of giving it a bit more of a like specificity about what they're clicking into, and that allows Google to read what that link is about. So a simple strategy for you is to try and do this going forward. Anytime you publish a new page or a blog post, I want you to find 2 or 3 existing posts or pages that you can link to, and then I want you to start going through the older posts as well and start linking through to any of your new content. It takes 5 to 10 minutes and it does make a huge difference, I promise. Now, that was a pretty big episode, so let's do a really quick recap as to the 7 mistakes that are making your website invisible. Number 1, missing your or generic page titles. Number 2, ignoring meta descriptions. Number 3, no alt text on your images. Number 4, a slow website. And number 5, no clear keyword strategy. Number 6, forgetting about local SEO. And number 7, you don't have any internal linking strategy. I have said this before, and I say this all the time. I don't want you to dive in and start doing everything all at once. I just want you to start picking a few small fixes that you can do in the beginning. Pick one, start there. So as I mentioned before, if you were going to do anything, I would recommend doing number 1 and number 2. And then the rest of them, I would go through each, just maybe set 1 week aside where, you could do this over 7 weeks. Number 1, we're doing the title tags. Week number 2, the meta. Week number 3, you're going to look at those alt texts. That is something that I would highly recommend you do. SEO is a long game, and every small thing that you do to your website makes us an improvement, but it also compounds over time. Now, these mistakes are so common because nobody teaches us this stuff when we are setting up our business. We create these beautiful websites and we write all this content, and then we still wonder why we're not showing up. It is not your fault. It is just little things that as website designers, we generally will know. And especially if you're DIYing your website, these are the things that you don't necessarily know. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, okay, Nicole, I get it, but I don't know where to start, and I'm already overwhelmed just thinking about checking all of this off, I hear you. Now, that's exactly why I have created the Fearless SEO formula. Now, inside the Fearless SEO formula, I'm going to walk you through every single one of these steps to fix your website step by step, plus so much more. You're going to learn how to do keyword research without using expensive tools. You are going to learn how to optimize every page on your website. You are going to learn the technical SEO website setup for WordPress sites, but you can also use this for any other platform. They kind of work off the same principles. And you are also going to learn how to create an SEO content plan that is going to bring you clients. It is designed for people that are not too tech savvy, or who feel really overwhelmed when they come to think of SEO, but they do also know that they need to be found on Google. You can find all the details at thefearlesscollective.co, and I'll pop a link in the show notes. If you're not ready for the course yet, that's totally fine. Just pick one of the mistakes from today's episode and fix that this week. Now, that is called imperfect action, and that is how we build momentum. And remember, your website is working for you 24/7. These SEO improvements are going to mean people find your website while you sleep, while you're with your kids, while you're working with clients. It is one of the best investments that you can make to your business visibility. Now, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you are interested in working with me, you can find me at thefearlesscollective.co. And thanks for listening to the Fearless Marketing Show. If this episode was helpful, screenshot it, share it on Instagram stories, and tag me at the Fearless Collective Co. so I can help cheer you on. And I will see you in the next episode.